Hey everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Alonso here with Matt and Christy. They have seen the Pink documentary and I have not. So I'm going to go refill my water glass while they tell you all about it.
Oh, it's called Pink. All I know so far, it is a documentary about Pink as she is embarking on her European tour with her husband, former motocross badass Carey Hart, and their two kids, daughter Willow and son Jameson. And it is much more of an infomercial than a lot of these movies we've talked about lately. I like for us to do these reviews of these movies because I like to see, behind the scenes with artists that maybe I didn't really know their music or didn't really like their music, and to get a different perspective on them. We did the Billie Eilish movie. We have done Katy Perry and Justin Bieber and the Jonas Brothers and Taylor Swift
and Justin Timberlake.
Yes. And so what invariably is the structure, we did the J Balvin movie recently, The Boy from Medellin, and there is a structure to them quite frequently where it's all leading up to the big concert, right? And so here the big concert is 2 nights at Wembley Stadium in London. And they're like some of the biggest arena shows of her career. So it's some stage stuff and a lot of behind the scenes stuff of her still trying to be a mom, and like she didn't want to be away from her kids for all that time, and so she brought them along, and she has the luxury of being able to bring them along. And this is singularly celebratory of her, right? Even when she is being, an unconventional mom in some ways, in the way that maybe she talks to her kids or deals with them, it's always from the perspective of, oh my God, she's such a badass. And she is a badass. Like, and the stuff of her, dealing with motherhood and work, I, of course, found the most interesting because I do that too. I don't do it hanging upside down from the rafters and also
maybe
singing.
You should.
Oh,
maybe
don't be
I
bashful.
Start. That's what. So right now, if you guys can see the show, we have the exposed beams in the ceiling here. Maybe I should just like hook up some kind of rigs and
do your reviews that way
and start singing from the diaphragm. I mean, she's undoubtedly a complete badass. She really is. But every once in a while, she'll begin. She's very candid, and she's an interesting, engaging presence. And every once in a while, she'll go down a road that starts to seem intriguing, but never really pulls the curtain back completely. I mean, she's a producer on this. Sony is behind this. It's very much a celebration of all things Pink in ways that are sometimes more obnoxious than we ordinarily see. I mean, there's a scene where she's sitting with her husband and she's reading an email that someone has written her about how her music saved this woman's life, and how when she was in high school, her early music helped her feel less alone and less like a weirdo. And then as she became older and realized she was gay, it helped her to come out. And then when she got older, even still, when she was feeling suicidal, she didn't do it because of Pink's music. And so to hear that sentiment is one thing. To hear Pink read it and get choked up is also a little interesting. But then to have her husband there to like completely pile on to the worship of her, it's overkill. And so I walked away feeling like I didn't really learn that much about her, but thought she was a cool chick.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, this movie does do a pretty solid job of at least showing us like, oh, holy shit, she's flying around that stadium and that's amazing.
The last number where she sings So What?
Yeah, right.
And she's flying across all of Wembley. It's jaw-dropping, yes.
Yeah, and this feels like the behind-the-scenes doc that you would get with a, as part of like the DVD of a concert video,
right?
Which is fine, and look, like if you're a fan of Pink, you're going to dig this. And if you're not a fan, like it still shows you, like the Bieber documentary, like, fuck, she works hard and it takes a lot of work to put on a big show. Okay. there's nothing revelatory in there. I think it's a little bit of a mistake showing some of the outtakes over the credits because that's more interesting than anything we see. And you're right, she does go down these kind of interesting things where she doesn't really follow up, like her relationship with her daughter and how her daughter had trouble adjusting when the son came along. Right. And that kind of stuff. And they don't really get into like the So What song is about the time she and Carey Hart were separated. And they don't really they don't talk about that at all either. Now they remain married and they made it work and they're still together. And, they clearly have a solid relationship and he looks like a super cool dad. But it just feels, a little overproduced, right? And again, like it's you want, and I think we're gonna have to start getting used to that. Like these are marketing platforms for a big star.
We've been talking about, we're in this age now of these documentaries that exist only because the subjects are granting access. And in exchange for that access, they're given a certain amount of control over the final product, which means that you're getting a glorified infomercial with maybe one or two warts, and all, but I think there's, and I'm not saying this to slag Pink. We've seen this from Tina Turner, and I think the John Lewis documentary falls in that category. The RBG doc falls in that category. There's a lot of these movies that are being made with the consent and express, maybe even, at the command of the person about whom the film is based, and so they have a say, and I think that's going to limit how much of an intimate portrait you're seeing. You're seeing what they want you to see.
Well, also, like Bob Dylan gave D.A. Pennebaker like access to everything backstage and Don't Look Back. I mean, Madonna gave Alec Kashishian full access in Truth or Dare, but you saw some unflattering stuff in both of those.
Yeah,
some
and I think
complicated human stuff in those, and we're not seeing that anymore with this recent wave of documentaries.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think some of those, even if not staged, they're very specific about what they show. Like the J Balvin one, you come away from that like, yeah, that dude's got anxiety. Like there's no question about that, right? And it does show you a version of the toll that it takes on him. I remember specifically the Katy Perry one when she gets the news right before she's going to go on stage that what's his name?
Russell Brand.
Russell had filed for divorce. And then she's got to suck it up and get on the elevator and go on stage. And that's a powerful moment. And even though those are arguably manipulative, and very curated, there's not an instance of that here. And I think that's what's missing. Like I'll put up with that. Like I'll roll with that kind of curated, tug at the heartstrings, but that doesn't quite hit in this movie.
It's interesting because Pink seems simultaneously guarded and unguarded, right? The like cool chick, no nonsense, badass mom persona feels like we're seeing the true her. And maybe that is the true her, but that's also the version of herself she puts out to the world. And so you never feel like you're getting beneath that exterior, that persona. There's one interesting moment where like her little boy he's a crazy rambunctious at this point 2.5-year-old, and he's hyper verbal and like super physical. And she laughed at him, like crawling all over her. And she's like, people always say, I love Pink. She doesn't take shit from anyone. And she goes, I eat shit for breakfast every day from these kids. So there are some moments that are relatable and honest. And I wish that there were more of them. This is directed by Michael Gracey, who also did The Greatest Showman. This is The Greatest Show. So he is apparently very accustomed to shooting people who are flying through the air. And I do think it's really cool that is a niche that she's carved out, that her stage shows are totally specific to her and unlike anything you will see anywhere. And this is one thing too, Matt, that was like an interesting glimmer that I wish we'd gone down further. The reason her shows are like that, why they are so theatrical, is because as a little girl, her mom would take her into New York City and they would go see like Les Mis and Phantom of the Opera. And even though her mom couldn't afford it, you know, she would make a big weekend out of it for her. And that's where she gets this love of like putting on a big theatrical show, because that really impressed her as a child. And I wish we'd known more things like that about her. So.
By the way, to your list of unfiltered rock docs, I would add "Gimme Shelter."
Oh yeah, oh, you didn't know that was going to happen. That the Hells Angels were going to start beating the shit out of people,
and they left that in. So
yeah, and yeah, we don't see a whole lot that is shocking anymore in movies like that. That's true. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm saying like a 4 because I was entertained. I'm not a giant fan of Pink's music, but I had.
Are you not entertained?
I know, but I appreciated how she makes it work as a mom. Although, Matt, I gotta say, like, at no point do we ever see a single nanny. At no point do we ever see she's getting help. Clearly, it's not just her and Carey Hart and 24 pieces of luggage schlepping into a hotel suite. Like,
she's working nights, you know.
I mean, they bring the kids with them to the concerts, but her little girl has like 104 fever one time, and she's got to leave her home in the hotel room. And it made me think like, oh, someone stayed back to watch Willow, and like there's a cast of thousands behind the scenes. She makes some reference at one point about how she has 224 people that she employs, and they make it look like it's just her and her husband doing it all, and clearly she's getting help.
Yeah,
well, I'm sure the 224 includes all the roadies and the.
It's dancers and it's roadies and it's makeup and hair people and it's people who set up her rigs and
But some nannies too.
Well, there's also a moment like in the movie where one of the kids asks like, "Oh, can I go play in the ball pit or something?" And it's like, okay, and you don't really think about it. And then in one of the outtakes, oh, there's a ball pit backstage at the venue that the kids can fuck around in. And it's like, show me that during the movie. Show me what you're doing to keep the kids amused, because they're not going to sit through a 3-hour show
over and over again.
But I was more okay with it, I think, than Christy was. I give it a 6.
All right. So,
I think it could have gone deeper, but I didn't not enjoy it.
All right. Our number's a 5. It's on Amazon Prime right now. If you are a fan of Pink, or even if you're not, it's there.
There you go. So thanks for watching, you guys. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on social media at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And why not visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. That's where you'll get all recaps of Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale, of Barry Jenkins' extraordinary Amazon Prime series, The Underground Railroad. Lots of other cool stuff coming up that is exclusive for our subscribers. So check that out, patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.